Sometimes a simple question can lead you down the most incredible rabbit hole. We started out just looking for an inventor named Leon Halfon, but what we found was a story so much more compelling than any patent filing. Let's dive into the life he literally invented for himself.
So, our whole journey began with trying to solve this one little puzzle, finding the patents of an inventor named Leon Halfon, which were supposedly held by the corporate giant IBM. Okay, so the initial question seemed pretty straightforward, right? You'd think you could just search the public databases for an inventor named Leon Halfon, cross-reference it with IBM, and boom, you get a list. Well, turns out it wasn't quite that easy. The search for that direct link to IBM, it came up completely empty. Zilch. No records, no patents. But you know what? That wasn't a dead end. It was a doorway, because the man behind the name was infinitely more fascinating than any corporate file could ever be. I think his brother captured his essence perfectly. Leon, or Levi as his family called him, he just never walked the conventional path. And this mindset, it was forged in the fires of his early childhood. To really understand the inventor, we have to go way back to the boy. This story doesn't start in some fancy lab or university. No, it starts on the island of Jerba, with a single moment that changed everything. Can you imagine? At just 7 years old, Leon's life was shattered. A truck accident left him paralyzed, confined to a wheelchair. And during this incredibly vulnerable time, other children, well, they were cruel. They mocked him. But his grandfather gave him this one piece of wisdom that became his armor. You are smarter than them. That single idea fueled the resilience that carried him not only through his recovery, but also through his family's difficult move to Israel as refugees. And that experience of being an outsider, of being targeted for his weakness, it left a really deep impression. He just couldn't wrap his head around the cruelty of it, and this question about human nature would actually fuel his philosophical side later in life. He decided he wasn't going to accept the world as it was. He was going to try and rebuild it. So they arrive in Israel as refugees with absolutely nothing. You'd think survival would be the only thing on his mind. Instead, this was when Leon's inventive spirit truly ignited. He began creating these marvels out of, and I mean this literally, garbage. And this slide right here brilliantly illustrates the core difference between him and his siblings. While they walked the straight, narrow path, studies, work, retirement, Leon's path was one of constant creation, of questioning everything, and this deep-seated need for freedom. Okay, the genius here is just astounding. He's only 12 years old, with no money for toys, so what does he do? He invents a rifle powered by a candle. He found a tube, packed used pellets with match heads, and used the candle's heat for propulsion. This came purely from his imagination. There was nothing in the world for him to copy. A year later, he did it again. He built a projector, a magic lantern, from scraps he found in the trash. And for film, he cut up the little comics from bazooka bubblegum wrappers. He was literally creating entertainment and wonder out of things that other people had just thrown away. As he grew up, his love for the sea became his new laboratory. It was a place of freedom for him, and it became the canvas for his next wave of inventions, leading him from the beaches of Israel all the way to the shores of California. Now, before we even get to his next inventions, just look at this number, 175. That's how many lives Leon is credited with saving as a lifeguard. Think about that. The boy who was once helpless in a wheelchair grew up to become a powerful rescuer. His drive wasn't just to fix things, it was to save lives. And of course, for a guy like Leon, standard equipment was never going to be enough. In Israel, he didn't just use a rescue board, he invented one that doubled as a sailboat. When he moved to the US, that passion for improvement continued, leading to these awesome watercraft, like the Malibu Paddle Cat and the highly versatile 4-in-1 multi-banana boat. Which brings us to the man Leon is today. Because that whole initial patent search really missed the point entirely. He isn't just a name on a document, he is a true polymath, an inventor, a philosopher, and above all else, a free man. So, what about those patents that started our search? Well, the IBM connection was a red herring, but Leon does hold official patents. The record shows 6 of them, all in the field he knows and loves best: water sports and rescue craft. But listen, those official patents are just the tip of the iceberg. Below the surface, his mind never stopped working. I mean, he was developing concepts for everything from remote-controlled drones and water-from-air distillers to solar-powered therapeutic jewelry. And this inventive spirit ran parallel to his philosophical side, which even led him to publish 4 books.
And this quote from an interview he gave, it just sums up his entire life's mission. It's not about the patents, the products, or the money. It's about a way of thinking. It's about using creativity and wisdom to try and make things better.
And he lives by that code. He never saw a fortune from his inventions because that was never the goal. Today, at 83, he lives a simple life, still driven by that same pure joy of creation that powered the candle rifle and the bubblegum projector all those years ago.
And so we end right back where we began, with the words of his brother. He sees Leon not just as an inventor, but as the modern embodiment of a long family line of unique, unpredictable, and creative spirits. The search for a patent led us to something far more valuable, the story of a life invented, completely on its own terms.